and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See the shit, force of bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again. Yeah.
Good afternoon and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.tv, and I will be your host for the next 2 hours. And I'm not sure what we're going to even talk about today, but I'm sure we'll get it figured out. Last night, this is going to be a difficult show because the sun is shining through the window so strong, and I don't intend to block it out. The sun's low in the sky, and it's pounding its way through the windows here, and it's very difficult to see the screen. But we'll work around that because I'm not blocking the sun out. Not today, anyways. It's getting dark early and getting cooler, so I want to enjoy every bit of sunshine possible. Now, last night we were talking about Trump a lot and that, and after the show, Chris/Duck and I were talking for a bit, and he turned me on to a website that I never heard of before. I'm sure lots of listeners have heard too, but I never really hung out much on other people's websites and that. I just go searching for documents and whatnot. Where is that? Is this it here? This is off of that's not off. Where did we go here? It was off of let me see if I can get this site up here. TomatoBubble.com. Never heard of that before. But I went there after the show last night, and I was talking about McCarthyism on the show last night, and why we need to reboot that. The media was controlled when McCarthyism was rolling, but apparently it was going on way back in 1917 to 20. And during the war, and and right after the war, whatever. And so they have a Joe McCarthy's birthday sale. I don't know what that's about. November 14th, 1908. Now, the thing that got me about this tomato bubbles site was I was talking about McCarthyism last night. And so I go to this site, and here's a Joe McCarthy birthday sale, and a bunch of stuff right on the front page about McCarthyism. And there's a quote in here: how can we account for our present situation unless we believe that men high in this government are concerting to deliver us to disaster? This must be the product of a great conspiracy on a scale so immense as to dwarf any previous such venture in the history of man, a conspiracy of infamy so black that when it's finally exposed, its principles shall be forever deserving of the maledictions of all honest men. And it's absolutely true. You know, all these things that people, other researchers and that bring up, that the mainstream media and that calls conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff, that's just the old plausible deniability nonsense that came out of Colonel House over the Fed and that even if 1 in a million figure it out, we still have plausible deniability. In other words, we can crush them with a backlash of media and that. And that's what's been going on for so long. And it puts fear in people because people don't want the neighbors to think they're nuts, right? So you go along to get along. And, well, you're going to get along, but you're going down the wrong road, and you need to stand up, and you got to get your neighbors to stand up. We can't just keep sticking our heads up our asses and pretend everything's fine. Nothing's fine. Nothing's been fine since North America was founded, and long before it. But we live here, so nothing's been fine ever. It's not that things have come apart now. It's they were never good. It was always a fraud, and so, you know, I too. You see, I got suckered. Maybe this is why I'm so adamant about this stuff. I got suckered as well. Now, McCarthyism was basically out the door by the time I was born. I think they pretty much shut that down around in the early mid-50s, and I was born in 54, so, you know, I wasn't privy to what was going on at the time. But by the time I was 10 and Kennedy was shot, I was alert enough to know that was an inside job. I was at least that intelligent. I didn't get suckered by it. I knew it was wrong. So I was starting to get some smarts about me. And I don't understand how people don't do that. Morning, Arthur. My friend Arthur just dropped in, who's done a lot of work. He's been on the show before. He's out renovating a house, which is a hell of a job. Maybe we'll put some pictures up sometime on that major project. Anyway, so, you know, by the time I got to be into my teens, well, 12, 13, 14, in that neck of the woods, and the Beatles were out, and, you know, the Stones were around, and you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll was a theme. And, you know, I've always believed that people should be allowed to do whatever it is they do, as long as they don't harm anybody. And, you know, we went through this, you know, Planned Parenthood crap. We went through so much stuff. And those that spoke out against it were hammered. And I pretty much got a little bit suckered into this liberalism stuff. the government is supposed to be one that's keeping a handle on things. And if any of these groups and that are nefarious, then they'll put a stop to it. But then it became pretty clear that it's the government that is the problem. They're the nefarious bunch. And this quote from McCarthy is very, very good. I don't think it's the first time I ever saw that quote was last night after the show. How can we account for our present situation unless we believe that men high in this government are concerting to deliver us to disaster? This must be the product of a great conspiracy on a scale so immense as to dwarf any previous such venture in the history of man, a conspiracy of infamy so black that was finally exposed its principles shall be forever deserving of the maledictions of all honest men. In other words, all honest men must curse this, what's going on. And which basically means that we need to stand up. That's basically all it means. Enough of this whining and bitching and complaining and looking for a new hero. You're the hero. Each and every one of you are the heroes. Or you're the chicken shits. That's your choice. But the weasels are inside the house. The foxes are inside the house. And if you're going to remain chicken, well, they're going to chew you up. And they're going to bust the eggs, which is like the depopulation program, I guess. And we'll be decimated. So it's time everybody just stand up a little bit. And it's so simple, and it's so difficult. But mostly it's simple. The difficult part is the mental part. The actual getting it done is actually quite simple. It's the mental stumbling blocks that are put in front of people. Oh, we don't have the capacity. Oh, we're scared. Well, they're supposed to do what's right. No, that's all bullshit, right? When they're ravishing the hen house and the rooster's sitting back there chewing his fingernails going, well, I should attack. I should do something, but, well, I feel overpowered. I feel, well, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You can't sit in a corner and hope that the foxes and the weasels leave the hens and the eggs alone. No farmer would have a rooster that was a wuss. The rooster has a particular job to perform, and it is to protect the house. And your nation is your house. And those that live in it are your brothers and sisters, although they've turned the brothers and sisters against each other. They've destroyed the family. And in the process, the nation, which is your house. So the men have to man up. Enough of this limp-wristed nonsense going on. He's got to man up. It ain't that difficult. I mean, these lefties that are running around now protesting, I mean, it's so sad. I see this, hundreds of anti-Trump people protests in Vancouver. Well, the lower mainland's got over 2 million people in it, so, but that's not what it says. It doesn't say a pittance of idiots, numbering in the hundreds, a protest in Vancouver. No, they read the hundreds protests against Trump. Well, okay, but, there's, at any given moment, there's more than hundreds of people lined up at the stupid Tim Horton drive-thru. So how is this hundreds protest have any value for the media? Because, well, the media is just doing their job, and that is to keep you messed up. Now, I ran into a book last night when I was rooting around here after the show, which again kept me up till after 3 o'clock in the frickin' morning. But it's all worth it. Now I'm trying to figure out how it was I ran into this book. Somewhere down on this page. And I don't know whose page this is. Like, where is home on this? Who even runs this site? Mike King. Okay, Mike King runs this site. Welcome to TomatoBubble.com, the mind-altering internet classics of alternative history, economics, philosophy, and current events by Mike King. Now, I'm sure a lot of listeners know who Mike King is. I didn't until Chris clued me in last night. And I want to thank him for that. Anybody that sends me anything that is going to be of some use, thank you. So through that site, I ended up at a book, and I'm sure this says it on this site, on Mike's site here somewhere. I thought this is where I got it from. I know this is where I got it from. I must have clicked on something in here last night. And anyways, the book is called Proof of a Conspiracy by John Robinson from 1798. And this is good stuff. This is really good stuff. Now, I only read the first chapter or two of this. But this is, people always say, well, it's the Masons, it's the Illuminati, it's this, it's that, it's the other thing. Well, I've said this lots of times. Okay, so it's Freemasonry and that. But this book, this John Robinson does a brilliant job, who is a Mason, who did a brilliant job of explaining what happened to Freemasonry. Because I always thought the Masons, when you look, it was basically a guild of builders. The Masons in that. Like a union hall or whatever for the Masons. It was basically a construction crew, if you will. Because they built mainly with stone and stuff back then. And so how is it these guys that are slinging mortar around, how is it that they got so notorious? Like the people that spun wool, are they notorious too? I don't know. Maybe they are. But in this book, as far as I've gotten so far, he explains, and again, it goes back to France and Europe. And France seems to be very well connected to this takedown, because the book written by Chief Justice in 1928 or 9 called The New Despotism points his finger at France as well. And it's basically the communist situation. And so those two books, I think everybody ought to go back and look at. We can't, all the history we were taught was all a lie. Most people that listen to this now understand that. And a lot of the people that started listening to online radio knew there was something wrong with the history that we were taught, and that's why they went looking. But you have to go backwards to figure out what's going on and why what's going on is going on. So I always appreciate when I run into an old book or an old document or something from way back when. But this looks like it's just that the Masons, because they had locations all over the place, it's a perfect thing to infiltrate. And it's, it mentions the Jesuits in here, and the Illuminati, and how they put this thing together, and how they got hold of it, and how they changed it, and how they used it to move their agenda, which is their world government agenda. So I'm really, really tired today. You gotta excuse me. There's a lot of really good stuff in here, and like I said, I've only read a little bit of it. But this really lays it out as to how the Masons became what we know them to be today. And that's important to know, because all of your clubs, I don't know what it's like in America. I imagine it's pretty much the same as here, because this is a global thing that's going on. But we have all these service groups, right? We have the Rotary Club, and we have the Knights of Columbus, and all of these. You go into a lot of towns and you see them posted on the signage going into the town. Now, these are all partners of, if you will, the infiltrated Masons. And they're all infiltrated. And while they do, like the Masons do the children's hospitals and that, so you got that duality all the time, right? But the actual plan that they are working is quite nefarious. Well, you can't say anything bad about the Knights of Columbus. Well, yeah, you can actually. Well, they built the big community hall. Yes, they did. But there's a reason for that. They don't do anything without a purpose. And that is to gather people under their wing, so to speak, and to use those people to gain control. And so it doesn't really matter what town you live in or what city you live in. The setup is all pretty much the same. And then your politicians are simply the ones that vote in these nefarious plans. And most of your council members are members of the Masons or the Rotary Clubs or the Knights of Columbus or one of these other clubs, because they're the upstanding citizens in your community that can be trusted. Only trusted to screw you over. And so this is a pretty important book, I believe. I haven't read the whole thing, so but what I have read of it, it looks pretty solid. So I'm not going to read this thing today. I was thinking about it last night, just to pick out some passages here and read it, but I got the sun burning my eyeballs out, but I'm going to put this in the chat, and I'm going to ask everybody to read it. It's a very, very interesting read, and I think it will open some eyes, and I think it will answer some questions for people. It really drives it home, because we know the Jesuits are involved in this. We know that Rome's involved in this. We know, this group, the illuminated ones, seemingly pick things and infiltrate them, just like when they came here, or came to America, and Rothschild told that the first thing you do is get hold of the 25 most important newspapers in America. That's the first thing you do. Because now we can promote our banking system, we can promote whatever the hell we want, and anybody that gives us a hard time, we can thump them. the pen being mightier than the sword. And this is what they have done. And they've taken us down from within. I may come back to this book during the show because I got an hour and a half to kill yet. And but I'm going to put this in right now because this is a very, very good read that needs to be read by all. And I want to thank Chris for sending me over to Tomato Bubble last night, which when he told me, I thought, okay, that's getting strange. That's a strange name for something. Maybe someday we can get Mike on the show here, because I don't know who Mike is. I have no idea. I'll have to look him up. Let me see. This is good. I'm going to read a little bit. I'm going to put this other thing in the chat first, and then the book. And then I don't know if I'm the only one that doesn't know about Tomato Bubble, or other people don't know about it, but I'll stick that in the chat as well. It's news to me. This guy looks like he's got his head pretty much screwed on straight. I haven't been able to go through all of the site, so I can't be certain, but he looks, from what I've seen, that he has his head on straight. You will have to discern that for yourself because I don't have time. But where is that going now? I'm going to go and read a little bit of this before I put it in. Where did he go? Okay, let me just read a little bit of this stuff, and hopefully this will clue me in. The Great Tomato Bubble. Did you ever wonder, it says, about why our economy is in trouble? How can so many people be in so much debt at the same time? Does it seem strange to you, no matter how hard one works, and in spite of all the advances in society, most hardworking people cannot escape the treadmill of perpetual debt? Why are so many families losing their homes to foreclosure? Why are so many households dependent upon credit cards to supplement their income? Why does it take 2 spouses to maintain a household when it used to take just 1? Why have so many retirement savings been wiped out? Why do prices always creep up? Did you know that close to 1/3 of all income taxes are consumed just to pay interest on the federal debt? National debt currently $17.5 trillion, or about $170,000 per household. Think about it. Every penny that you pay in income tax from January 1 to April 1 is consumed just to pay interest on the federal debt, much of it to foreign banking families. And let's not forget the government's unfunded future liabilities estimate is $75 trillion, an additional $750,000 per household. Add those staggering sums to the $11 trillion in total consumer debt, mortgage, car loans, credit card, etc., student loan, state debt, country debt, or county debt, city, town debt, small business debt, big business debt, and you will see that the total of these debts actually exceeds by far the amount of money supply in circulation. So how can such astronomical debt ever be repaid? Well, if you haven't figured it out, it can't. The only way this is for society to service just the interest on these monstrous debts is to constantly inject new debts into the system. Finally, on top of all your federal, state, gasoline, local taxes, and on top of your personal debt service burden, there's this thing called inflation, or the cost of living. What exactly is the cost of living? What causes it? Why does the dollar buy less and less each year while wages stay flat? Is the stress of perpetual debt and rising prices keeping you up at night? How many strokes, heart attacks, and even suicides are induced by financial stress each year? Money and debt may even have led to your drinking problem, or perhaps even to your depression. Debt may have been the underlying cause of your divorce, or that of some couple that you know. You know in your gut that something isn't right in this country, but you don't have the economics education to figure it out. It all seems too complicated for you to put your finger on. So you just keep slaving away to pay interest and taxes as your dollar buys less and less. All you can do is keep working like a dog and leave the matter to Wall Street experts and politicians to handle for you. But it's all quite simple, really. So simple, in fact, even the dummy can understand it when it's broken down to basic elements. So then how exactly do you all become so debt, tax, inflation slaves? Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. You'll be amazed at how easy it is to understand. One night, what is this here? This is actually a good story. I don't know who, I don't know this. I guess this is I have nowhere to go with it. My name is Mortimer M. Moneybags III, and this is the true story how I bankrupted and enslaved my hometown in Tomatoville, USA. To set up, one night, Bill, Frank, John, and Mike came over to my place for a friendly game of poker. My four neighbors are the prosperous tomato farmers. Tomatoes actually serve as the currency of Tomatoville, USA. Before starting, the five of us agreed to each put up 10 tomatoes as our risk capital. That's a total of 50 tomatoes. Play begins, and we realize that trading tomatoes during our bets is awkward. I suggest we use light paper notes to represent our tomatoes instead, because I hold a degree from Harvard, and all agreed that I should act as a central banker. We place our tomatoes in the center of the table, and I print 50 paper notes with the face of Tomatoville's founder on them, corresponding to the 50 tomatoes. 10 notes for each player. Each player note therefore represents one tomato. Simple, sound money, hard money, gold standard. As play resumes, I have an unseen advantage over my guests. At 30-minute intervals, I repeatedly excuse myself for a bathroom break. Fed meetings. During this time, I'm actually sneaking into my bedroom and printing up more one tomato notes, fiat money. Upon returning, I gradually gamble and inject ever-increasing amounts of notes, liquidity, into the game, the economy. By midnight, the original 50 notes has increased to 500 total notes. After ebbs and flows, the game was remarkably even at midnight. The five of us, who had each started out with 10 note pieces, now held 100 note pieces apiece. As you might expect, due to newly found wealth, the size of each player's bets increased in direct proportion to the growth of the supply of the tomato notes. That's called price inflation. But the same 50 tomatoes, the true intrinsic value of the game, remain in the jackpot. Because we were getting so rich from the game, I proposed that instead of ending the game, we leave everything as is and resume play the following month. Why don't you fellows spend some of your tomato notes and save some to invest in next month's play? Tell the shopkeepers that each tomato note represents one tomato that is still sitting on the table. They'll accept the notes as if they were actual tomatoes. Great idea, Mortimer. The paper is so much more convenient to trade than tomatoes, replied Mike. All agreed to suspend play and resume the next month. Before they leave, I announced that I'm cashing in 20 of my 100 notes in order to make tomato sauce the following day. At the original ratio of 1 note to 1 tomato, my 20 notes trade for 20 tomatoes. I have doubled my original investment of 10 tomatoes. Profit taking. And still have 80 paper notes with which to resume the game the next month. There are now only 30 tomatoes remaining on the table. As I expected, my friends have no intention of cashing in any of their winnings because the returns from the game are so high. So each hold 100 notes and really believe that their original 10 tomatoes have yielded a 10-to-1 return from playing the game called bull market irrational exuberance. When the players explained to the town merchants that the tomato notes represent actual tomatoes that are stored at my house, the merchants gladly accept the notes as if they were actual tomatoes. During the ensuing month, the players spend many of their notes and take out various loans as well. Bill buys his wife a new sports car by putting down 25 tomato notes and taking a loan for the balance. Detroit prospers. Frank takes out a small business loan to open up that restaurant he's always dreamed about, job creation. John puts down 50 notes, down payment, and signs a contract for a new home mortgage, housing boom. Mike spends 40 of his tomatoes and also goes on a credit card shopping spree, consumer confidence. The local bank manager also trusts that tomato notes income of the borrowers represents true wealth, so he honestly believes that he is not engaged in risking lending when he lends out his depositors' tomatoes to successful poker winners. Subprime mortgages, no money down mortgages. The bank then sells some of the loan notes to the Tomato Street investment houses. Blinded by greed and ignorant of the big picture, Tomato Street portfolio managers believe that the debts are solid investments for their clients. Secondary market mortgage-backed securities. So not only do the four players believe that they are prospering, but that businessmen that are now selling more goods to the wealthy poker players believe they are earning more tomatoes also. They too increase their personal spending and borrowing accordingly, which is the multiplier effect. As the new prosperity makes its way through the town, the prices of goods and services also begin to rise exactly like the size of the bets in the poker game have risen. And exactly for the same reason. Everyone thinks they're getting richer, but their new wealth is artificial and temporary. Me, I just rub my hands in glee and laugh at how foolish these people really are. The economy of Tomatoville is booming, or so it seems. Now we get to the sting. The poker players and I meet again at my place and pick up where we left off the month before. The mood is jovial as the players look forward to another round of earnings after a few hours of more silent note injection. 1,000 notes now circulate evenly among the players, 200 each. My guests boast among themselves about all the new toys that they have recently charged. That they aren't worried about the debts they are incurring because, if necessary, they can always cash in their abundant paper notes for tomatoes, equity, and pay everything off free and clear. John then mentions that he has noticed that the town merchants have increased the prices of their goods and services. Have you guys noticed how expensive milk and eggs have gotten lately, John asks. Yeah, I noticed that too, says Bill, and a cup of coffee now costs 2 tomato notes. Why is that, Mort? Well, anticipating that this question would arise, I launch into my cleverly planned explanation. Well, gentlemen, there are 3 underlying causes behind the price inflation, and you are seeing at the town stores. First, when the town merchants learned of your new prosperity, they increased their prices because they knew you could now afford to pay more. That's typical capitalist price gouging. Those greedy bastards, shouted Frank. I continue. Yes, greed is a main factor, but our shopkeepers aren't the only greedy businessmen. The second reason for this inflation is that the folks over in Oilville have got us over a barrel. They too have increased their oil prices because all of the goods we buy have been shipped by train and truck, and increase of transportation costs gets passed on to you, the consumer. Mike leaps to his feet and angrily declares, I say, we bomb Oilville back to the Stone Age and just take their damned oil. I don't know about going to war, but we definitely need to develop a solar and wind energy here in Tomatoville, adds Frank. What's the third reason for this inflation, asks John, to which I reply, the third reason isn't related to greed. It's due to the prosperity of the people over in Potatoville. As Potatoville develops its economy, they grow and sell more potatoes. This increases their own demand for oil. That increases demand pushes oil prices up. Again, because our economy runs on energy, Potatoville's prosperity is contributing to the inflation you are seeing here in Tomatoville. To my amazement, the men acting as if they have been enlightened by some deep philosophical discourse all nod their heads in agreement at the utter nonsense I have just spewed. We then resume the game. After a few more hours of play, I decide to trade in 20 more paper notes for 20 tomatoes. Insider trading. My friends ridicule me. Mortimer, why would you trade in notes for tomatoes when we are all making so much money, they ask. I just want to lock in some of my winnings now. You never know if fortune may turn, I replied. I have now earned a total of 40 of the original 50 tomatoes from the table, quadrupling my initial investment, whereas my scam was not obvious before. My victims now clearly see that the true value of the tomato jackpot has diminished. Recession or bear market. They have each started with 10 tomatoes, so how come they hold hundreds of notes when there are only 10 tomatoes for the 4 of them to divide? Bill panics. I'm trading in, he declares. He dumps all 200 of his notes and attempts to grab the remaining 10 tomatoes. Stock market crash, bank run. Not so fast, Bill, declares Frank. If you get those remaining tomatoes, there'll be none left for us. Oh my God, Moira, how am I going to pay off my debts to the town's merchants? What's happened here, Mike asks. My expression turns somber as I reply, damn, I was afraid this might happen because we were doing so well, the game overheated. The tomato note fell against the tomato. When that happens, the cost of playing goes up, inflation, then contraction occurs, recession. It's a natural cycle. So how do we allocate the remaining tomatoes, John asked. Simple, I replied. It's called currency devaluation. You four each have 200 notes in your hand. I have 160. That's a total of 960 notes in circulation. Money supply. There are 10 tomatoes remaining. Divide 960 notes by the remaining 10 tomatoes, and the new cost of a tomato is therefore 96 notes. That's hyperinflation. That means that your 200 notes can buy back 2 of the remaining tomatoes, 10 tomatoes for each of you. The paper tomato note currency had lost its purchasing power, inflation bubble bursting, and my 4 neighbors have each lost 8 of the original tomatoes, of the original 10 tomatoes that they once owned. I walked away with 42 of the original 50 tomatoes, real wealth. So this is pretty good stuff. But the real problem that goes on is that the 4 suckers, believing they were wealthy, had charged up a lifestyle that they could no longer sustain. That car Bill bought for his wife, can you say repo man? Frank's new restaurant, the chefs and some waiters will have to be laid off. Increased unemployment. Mike's credit card bills, soon to be delinquent and destroying his credit rating. Will be credit crunch and local bank losses. John's new home foreclosure, followed by divorce, all tied to the housing slump. The merchants who had sold or loaned to them will also be negatively affected. Anyone who had dealings with the free spending poker players is also holding devalued notes and possibly carrying bad debts. The artificial debt and inflation prosperity had spread like a virus, and now the malinvestment balloon has to painfully deflate. The bewildered and frightened townfolk don't understand how this happened because of my Ivy League credentials, coupled with the fact that I have accumulated so much wealth. They look to me for expert advice and answers. I explained to them that we're in a liquidity crisis. Friends, this is part of the natural business cycle. Sure, you have suffered short-term loss, but in the long term, we will all come out okay as the markets recover. You saw how much wealth you had earned. If you get out of the game, you'll be locking in your losses. The market has hit bottom, truth be told. You guys helped create this mess yourselves with your reckless consumer borrowing, and the local bank should have known better than to lend its depositors tomatoes out so carelessly, blaming the symptoms instead of the causes. This is the problem with free market capitalism sometimes. I will advise major bullshits to institute new legislation, a huge stimulus package, and more regulation over private enterprise. Call that the New Deal. We shall create a social safety net in order to protect you from future natural occurring business cycles. It's a great society and war on poverty. Greedy corporations, town shopkeepers, and employers, big and small, created this mess, and it must never happen again. That would be class warfare. We will impose strict price controls to fight the inflation that's the greedy price gouging shopkeepers have caused. We will tax the rich. Federal income tax established in 1913. Free health care, free education, socialism that is, liberty, equity, equality, fraternity. Change we can believe in. Hope, yes, we can. Workers unite. You have nothing to lose but the chains which bind you. Don't worry about the town's constitution. It's an outdated document written by a bunch of dead white guys. If we are to fix this mess, then we must ignore its limitations on progressive government action. Now, he has some notes in here as well, but this is, okay, this goes on. Well, I can run this up to the top of the hour, I think. This is kind of fun. Where are we here? The tomato must no longer serve as the backing of our currency. To meet the liquidity needs of our new system, it is imperative that we get this town off that antiquated, barbaric fruit, standard hard money, and transition to my expertly managed paper currency. In other words, fiat. As far as the poker markets go, now it's time to play even more aggressively, buy low. We'll meet again next month. In the meantime, work harder and bring more tomatoes to the next game, and I'll print more notes to increase liquidity and induce the banks to loosen up credit once again, pumping, priming, and quantitative easing. If the local banks need to make more loans, I'll lower their reserve requirements so that they can lend, create money that they don't have. As long as too many depositors don't make any withdrawals all at the same time, like you fellows did in our poker game, they'll be none the wiser. That would be your fractional reserve banking. Even if there is a bank run, or if the bank's loans demand exceeds its reserve requirement, I'll act as the lender of last resort. Federal Reserve, established 1913, and lend, or create money for, to the local bank at interest. That's called bank takeover, discount window. I will also lend, in other words, create money, for the mayor's office, which is in quotes, open market operation, purchase of T-bills and stimulus, and bailout, which again is create money, for the Toronto street brokerage houses that I deem to be too big to fail, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan bailout packages. I continue. Finally, I will organize an emergency meeting of the mayors, finance ministers, and note printers of the European towns, G20 world stage. Now is not the time for isolation, independence, or sovereignty. Global problems demand global solutions, which brings in the IMF, the World Bank, WTO, and the UN. We will recover, so keep spending secure in the knowledge that the best and the brightest of the world community are on the job. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. And the wrap-up. The men leave my place full of hope, grateful that a financial expert and a caring lender and in charge of the recovery plan, incredibly, I have convinced them that it was free enterprise, tomato currency, and limited government, the three main pillars of their original prosperity, that caused their problems. Instead of seeing my inflationary system, my perpetual interest demands, and the mayor's out-of-control spending and the high taxes as the cause of their lower standard of living, they actually worship Mayor of Bullshit as a savior. Bullshits, it gives them all the socialistic free goodies that our destructive schemes have made unaffordable for them in the first place. First, we crush the owners and the workers of the private economy, then bullshits ride in like a knight on a white horse offering welfare schemes to save them. The simple town folk never stop to think that we're in it, that were it not for us, they would have the income and capital to take care of themselves. When bullshits runs short of money, and he always does, I'm there to lend it to his office, at interest, of course. Damn, I love this job. My European colleagues and forefathers have been running this scam for centuries. During this past century, we've been working to diversify our operations to include control of the world's natural resources. Whenever some independent-minded foreign mayor resists our game of banking and resource monopoly, Iraq, Venezuela, Iran, our friendly mayors, the free world, will team up to bring that town back in line with sanctions, UN resolutions, spreading democracy, CIA coups, and wars. Perhaps one day we may even merge our operations under a single global umbrella, i.e. the New World Order, G20, Global New Deal, Global Warming Scare. I also play golf with the owners and publishers of the local liberal newspaper, as well as with those from the conservative media. Through my close friendship with them, I am able to influence the editorial and news content of both. It is sort of a good old boys networking thing. As long as they don't expose my operation, I am happy to allow the two parties and their sheep-like followers to amuse themselves with the daily drama of those superficial popularity contests known as political campaigns. By having the left and the right beat each other up, the townfolk are kept divided and diverted from my actions. In the end, it is I who wins every election. My philanthropic endowments to Tomatoville University guarantee that my twisted version of economics is taught to the students, awestruck by my immense wealth and prestige. Most, but not all, the Austrian school Peter Schiff, Ron and Rand Paul of the economics at 2 are eating out, or Tomato University, I guess, are eating out of my hands. So when the townfolk read the Tomato Street Journal or hear Professor Pointyhead speak on TV, my false theories are reinforced in their minds. All except for John, the critical thinker at T-ville. He figures it all out and embarks upon a one-man internet crusade to expose me, calling me a counterfeiter, a usurer, an insider trader, a warmonger, and the shadow mayor. My fellow country club members from the media convince everyone that John is paranoid and an extremist who is mentally unstable, conspiracy theorist, and potential domestic terrorist. Most of the town folks defend my intellect and character and disassociate themselves from John. The others are too burned out by the hustle of life to even make the time to study politics and economics. Eventually, John is denied access to the Tomato Street Journal and throws his hands up in frustration. Tomatoville is deeply in debt to me, and because the massive police force and the safety net programs that my destructive monetary schemes necessitated are very expensive. I got so much dirt on Mayor Bullshits that if he dares to either reintroduce the tomato standard or if he decides to print interest-free currency proportionate to the amount of real goods and services in the town, my newspaper friends will stick TNT Anchorman and slick TNN Anchorman that can ruin him. But Mayor Bullshits, as well as his rivals from the other party, are all very easy to get along with. Most politicians are just ambitious liars who only care about getting reelected. My printer helps cover the huge budget deficits generated by their vote bullying, buying welfare schemes, and their endless foreign wars. One hand washes the other. It doesn't serve the insatiable ambitions of local business politicians to alienate a well-connected bipartisan donor like me. Every few years for a public show, Mayor Bullshit gets to nominate a printing chairman from my list of preferred professors. Because of this dog and pony show, most readers of the Tomato Street Journal believe that the central banking operation is regulated by the mayor's office. Of course, it is not. In reality, it is a private cartel owned and operated by my banking associates and me. It is only our cartel that gets to print or email the actual money supply and then inject it at will into the government treasury and banking systems as you see fit, because debt is the actual currency. You can never stay out of debt. The total of all debt and interest owed always exceeds the total money supply. So you see, this debt-based currency system is actually nothing but a massive pyramid scheme. We international banking and media kingpins sit on the top. Our wholly owned politicians, professors, and reporters sit on the levels below. While your worker bees are stuck on the bottom levels, toiling away to perpetually support the crushing weight of our fraudulent structure. It's like a game of musical chairs where the number of players always exceeds the amount of chairs. I start and stop the music at my pleasure as you exhaust yourselves running around in circles in my amusement. I stimulate the booms and the busts. Now you know the secrets of my success and power. You're probably wondering why I would reveal the truth and indict myself like this. It's simple. It's because I do not respect you. I know that no matter how badly I screw you, no matter how much I steal from your kids' mouths, You won't do a damn thing about it. I would never even cross your mind to take the personal initiative to spread this story around to your friends and family. If everyone who read my confession passed it on to 10 others, my game would be up in no time. But I know that you won't do it. As long as there's a ball game or a reality TV show to entertain you, as long as you have a few beers in your refrigerator, I can do or say whatever I want forever. Poker at my house, everybody who's in. Mortar M. Moneybags III. Now, I'm sure an awful lot of people have read this. I haven't. This is the first time I've come across this. And I want to thank Mike. I forgot what his name is already. He doesn't really throw it out here so good, but that's a really good piece. Mike King, thank you. I don't know if you wrote it. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know when it was written. But that is a very good piece. It explains so very much. And it's not just about the money system. It's about exactly like Mandel House said, that we have plausible deniability and we will crush anybody with the media. Basically, he didn't say that exactly, but the plausible deniability part is exactly that they have the power. You are some conspiracy nutcase, and these are the upstanding, brilliant, well-educated, wealthy men that you must trust. And that's been going on like forever. And it has to come to a crushing halt. Now, they're using tomatoes here as a currency, and anything can be a currency. And it's funny the way these things work, because we had a large. I'm going to put this anyways. Well, I still got it in front of me here. Stick this in the chat. I'm going to pass it around. I'm going to stick it up on my blog. I'm going to stick it up on Facebook and that. And hopefully people will pass it along, and maybe people will get the drift. But I think probably one of the most important things in this whole thing that I just read is that, where did he say that? Now you know the secrets of my success and power. You're probably wondering why I would reveal the truth and indict myself like this, right? It's simple, because I do not respect you. I know that no matter how badly I screw you, no matter how much I steal from your kids' mouths, you won't do a damn thing about it. And as long as you got a new TV show, a couple beers, or a ball game, you're just going to sit there with your head up your ass. And Mortimer can say and do whatever he wants forever. And that, I think, to me, is the most important point of that entire story. People are so weak of the mind and the spine that instead of dealing with what they need to deal with, they purposely look to be distracted. Or, as George Carlin said, willfully ignorant. They go out of their way to stay ignorant, to stay blind. They don't want to see reality. Because they know that once you see, you cannot not see, and once you know, you cannot not know. And with that comes obligation. And people do not wish to go there. They just want to go along in their fictional little lives and believe they're going to make it out the other end. And the other end is the end, isn't it? They flop around here in all of this fraud and lies and slavery, trying to get out the other end. Well, the other end is the end, isn't it? So there's an old lady I was talking to one time in the early 80s, I believe it was. We were talking and she said, so we're supposed to do something. Duh. Duh. Good morning or afternoon, sir.
Hey, buddy.
Is this Mortimer?
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're understanding the tomato bubble.
Well, but see, it's all so weird, Chris. It's all so very weird because
It's meant to be.
when I started to read this today, I had a big smile on my face because I was going to do a story on the maple syrup currency. Because you see, we had a big theft 4 years ago of the maple syrup. And it was the biggest...
Well, the guy just got convicted for that.
It was the
for
biggest
stealing
theft.
$12 million or something worth of maple syrup.
Almost $14 million worth of maple syrup was
Yeah.
stolen. And I thought, well, that's pretty expensive stuff. And it ain't nearly as hard to make maple syrup as to dig gold or silver out of the ground. And I'm thinking, maybe we ought to go to the maple syrup currency. And I was thinking about talking about that before I ran into the Mortimer story. So they kind of go in hand, right? Yeah, I mean...
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So, and maple syrup we can do something with that.
People can laugh. People can laugh all they want, but that's a pretty big heist because I could do a lot with $12 million worth of maple syrup, but I can't do a lot with my dollar, my paper dollar.
Well, you can always give it to the judge. That
They
seem
works.
to like those paper dollars.
No, I'm glad you actually looked into that site. He's a pretty cool guy. You know who got me onto him?
No.
I've mentioned this in the past, I think, on a previous show, but it was Ryan Brooks,
Okay.
who was a radio host that quit to go out and cut wood and live his life. And I'm still trying to get a hold of that man. I want to get him on your show, but he is the one that he had him on his show, and then it just went from there. I've lost contact with Ryan, unfortunately. I still do have some with Mike, but he's a good man, and I believe that he's, based on, you've read a lot of what he's done on air.
I found. See, this is what always happens. I find it absolutely amazing. I was talking about McCarthyism last night, and when you turned me on to Mike's site, the first thing I ran into on that site right after the show was McCarthyism, and I thought, whoa, that's kind of odd. And then going through that, I ended up over to that book, which is brilliant. What I've read of it so far, and it ties in with the New Despotism written out of England, and this Robinson was out of England as well, and both of them were looking at France as being the problem, and it's very interesting, and I encourage everybody to read it. And I'll probably
you and I, neither one of us are making money selling books or selling people that sell books.
No.
We're just searching for truth and trying to give people an intelligent wake up. And,
the more
if there was money involved, I'd go on Alex Jones' show if he'd pay me.
I wouldn't go on his show if he paid me. I was on his show once.
Why not?
He didn't pay me. But
pay me, and I'll still cut him up.
I wouldn't return to that show. What a dick. I don't want
we all got to do what we got to do to survive, right?
It's the same old story. It's the lesser of two evils nonsense again, okay? I mean, an awful lot of people who me included, when I put up my blog in 2006, and I was looking for people or outfits to attach to my blog, hopefully to encourage people to, investigate things and research things. And one of the very first things I put up was Alex Jones, because when I got rooting around, he's all over the place. And but after a couple of weeks, I just took it down because it was obvious that this guy ain't this guy.
You had an oops moment.
A what?
You had an oops moment.
I did. I was embarrassed, actually. That I was actually embarrassed. But later on, a few years later, I actually called into his show, and I think I embarrassed him a little bit. But I'll never be allowed to call in there again. And I don't call in to rag at people. I was asking some very legitimate questions, and he couldn't deal with them. And so bye-bye Alex, right? It's unfortunate, too, because, and that goes back to Trump again, right? Is Trump and Alex Jones, basically, we're going to tell you 90% truth, and we're going to sting you with the poison the other 10%.
Well, what I didn't mention, we were talking last night on your show on Revolution Radio, what I didn't mention was how Trump, who was going to get rid of Obamacare, is now taking a back step on that. And, that's kind of important, because that's, I believe what I think what a lot of people were voting on him for was he was going to clear this Obamacare and get it out, just get rid of it. And apparently now there's a backstep on that. He's going, well, we won't necessarily get rid of it. We're going to review it.
The old story.
That happens as soon as you get into office. It's just so funny how you can change your mind.
Well, yes, because we thought we were fully aware, but now that we have the actual documents, we're going to have to review it all, and probably, because it's all in place and it's so expensive to just throw it out, what we'll probably do is try to tweak it a little bit to make it more favorable and less expensive for people. Yeah, that kind of bullshit that always comes out of a politician.
Ron, can you help clarify?
No.
The Canadian free healthcare system from Obamacare and any alternative healthcare system as the government sees fit. There's a bit of confusion out there. They don't understand that the same person designed both systems.
Well, the Rockefeller Group, Foundation, whatever, they were the ones that funded the very first healthcare in Ontario. They funded healthcare in Ontario, therefore they control it. Now, the thing with our little buddy from the what do we call the CFR? No, the CFR, CCF? The Canadian Credit, what is it called? What's his name? The little guy from Saskatchewan there, I think it was, who brought us in universal healthcare. What?
Douglas?
Yeah, Tommy Douglas. Okay, now he's got connections to the Rockefeller family. So, these are all just players, and all they're doing is experimenting with stuff, right? And so the point I'm trying to make on healthcare is this: healthcare is extraordinarily simple. Healthcare cannot be monetized, and this is what they've done. They've monetized everything. If a man or a woman or a child is ill, there is no way that this can possibly be monetized. If you have someone ill, the job of the nation is to do whatever they can to fix that illness. This idea that you can't get this care because you're not connected to that, or you don't have this insurance program, or you don't own a house, or this or that, is ludicrous. But then this is all about monetization. The whole thing's been about monetization. I can't walk down the street and go to the local town fountain and get some water. They monetize.
Used to.
What? You used to be able to, of course, but they've gotten us so soft now that they just monetize the shit out of everything. I mean, they're monetizing CO2. This is how dumb we've got. Mortimer is just happy as snot, right? Mortimer and his boys are laughing their asses off at us. But as far as healthcare goes, and that happened to me in the United States because my insurance had run out, and I had decided to stay a couple, 3 weeks longer than I was insured for, and I got into some medical problems down there, and they wouldn't take me. I had to go to the what do you call that hospital? Where people have no money go in the United States, they go to Medicare or some damn thing, isn't it? You know, they say we still have to look after you, but not very well. You're lesser than, which means that your life is worth less than someone that has the insurance program, which everyone should be totally ticked off about. But you still hear people in the United States going, well, if they had their insurance and they'd worked every day, they wouldn't have these problems. Well, that's just Mortimer's newspapers talking. But, you know, I mean, I saw how ludicrous it was because I was very, very ill. And they were apparently very concerned about my health, and it was deteriorating quickly, but they told me they couldn't help me.
Cha-ching.
And how do we fix it? I ended up pushing and got a meeting with the accountants and the lawyers and the administrators who had nothing to do with making me better. And to explain to them that they had a duty. Well, it's all about our accounting system and that, and you don't seem to fit in here. Well, I don't care. You're going to fix me. And after an hour of this nonsense, they finally submitted, and then the medical people couldn't get on me fast enough. But the medical people were being withheld from my health because of the monetization boys, right? And that is absolutely wrong. There is no room in any health care anywhere for monetary value. You want to be a doc of all of the things that go on in our nation, the one thing that cannot have a dollar value attached to it is your health. Because when you're ill, you must be equal to the other who is ill. And if you are not, then you do not have a nation. So, you know, if you want to be a doctor, be a doctor. Okay? And
well,
you will be
what's the median pay for doctors? We use Canada as an example. What's the median pay?
I have no idea.
I believe it's about 300,000.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't have a problem.
Now, in the old days, a doctor, you know, because he didn't have to go cut trees down and risk his life doing much other than helping people that risk their lives. Mm-hmm. He'd be happy with, you know, with a respectable pay for what he does.
See,
I mean, he has to take a little bit more a learned scholarship in order to get to that position, so we respect that.
No,
so he gets paid well enough that he can own his own home, grow his own vegetables, and have happy family. But it appears to me now, well, it doesn't appear, it's right in front of you, that they all feel that they are superior, and you listen to them, and you give them all your money.
But Chris, you got to see that this is all about the selling of the souls. When the original doctors, did not become doctors to get wealthy. They became doctors because they cared about people's health. Now, in the old days, lots of doctors took a chicken or a pie or whatever the hell was available, but they
Correct.
did not go to someone who was ill and says, well, you don't have a pie because I don't like that kind of pie. I like this kind of pie. You don't have that kind of pie, so your family member can suck air as far as I'm concerned. That's not what medical was about. Medical was about helping each other. It was the same as why the farmer grew the grew the food. It's the same why the carpenter helped build the barn. These people did what they did because this is what they enjoyed doing. They believed this is what they were sent here to do, and they did it. It didn't have anything to do with monetary anything.
Yep.
Once they monetized everything, then they coerced the doctors into you could have a new sports car. You could have a big house. Okay, and the doctors
and dancing bitches
doctors,
around the pool.
There was all kinds of doctors attempted to resist this, but it's either play or get out of here kind of thing. So it went away from the original. Everything has moved away from what it originally was because I mean, you look at sports. I mean, I forget the name of the guy and he was a lawyer. The guy that God, it's been so long since I've been had to do with golf. The golf course in Georgia. What the hell is that called?
Georgia golf course.
No. Anyways, doesn't matter. The guy was an amateur. Okay, sport was it was amateur. There was no money in it. Okay, and people played the sports because they enjoyed to play the sports, and they tried to be the best they could at the sport they chose to do. And then once you monetized it, you destroyed the sport. It's not about sport anymore. It's about the money. You know, it's not about being a good golfer, a good football player. It's about being a star.
Well, if I could come back in a second life, I'd be a basketball player.
Why?
Well, you know, those slam dunks every slam dunk gives you $1 million.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So
that's what I heard.
So the slam dunk is the big cha-ching, right?
Yep.
Slapping a baby on
the old days, it used to be fun.
Is a cha-ching.
Not that I could ever get up there. I could get up about 8 feet, but I can't get 10.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is that any medical system that is tiered in any way whatsoever that puts one man, woman, or child in a better or upper position than the lowest of the low is not a medical system. It's a financial system, and that's all it is. And
well, that is going back to that's one of the reasons I was discussing that is it has become that even in the healthcare facade that we have, that you got any money? Nope. Oh, well, geez, we're going to have to put you on the bottom of the list.
But see, it all comes back to whose fault is it? Mortimer said it. It's our fault. It's always our fault. You know, we continually get suckered by this nonsense of, he's very well educated, he's very well spoken, he's very rich, so we should listen to them, and that's who owns the media, and so on and so forth. I mean, when I went to that, what was it called, Liberty City Hospital in Florida, and I walked in there after driving 40 miles, really sick, to get there, after being turned down by the real hospital, and walked in there, I saw really the problem. And it's the people who are the problem. And, you know, you got this guy sitting at a desk. I mean, I wish I would have got a picture of that place. I mean, it just reminded me of a bombed out bus shelter or bus station or whatever. You know, there's a light hanging from a wire from the ceiling. There's an old wooden desk there and a guy sitting behind it. and people laying all over the floor in the dirt. I mean, this thing certainly wasn't pristine. When you walk in there, you wouldn't consider this had anything to do with health care because it didn't look like it was healthy. And to see those people laying around and being told, and me being told that, like, those people got here yesterday, so you're still behind them. And these people have been laying on the floor since yesterday because they don't want to lose their place in line in a place called America. It kind of shined the light on the problem. And it wasn't so much I was disgusted with anything other than the people themselves. Because my question then, why do you put up with this? Why would you put up with this? Why would you allow yourself to be treated like this? Me, I just got back in the car and drove 40 miles back and went back to the original hospital. It was a new top-of-the-line hospital. And walked in, and they go, "What are you doing here? We thought we sent you to the other hospital." "You did. I'm back. But we can't help you. Want to bet? You want to bet?" Now, it took a little doing. And they didn't, it's not that they didn't want to help me. That's the important part. It's not that the medical people didn't want to help. They wanted to help. But the money guys were standing in the way, so I had to go deal with them. Once they've been dealt with, then there was no problems whatsoever. And I didn't pay.
The CEO of a hospital here, well, in my hometown of Kingston, Ontario, I think the CEO of the hospital there makes $3.1 million a year. And how do you think they come to that number? And what the hell are they doing, or he or she, because now it's a she, what is she doing to deserve that kind of paycheck? Well, maybe part of it buying politicians, but...
Well, the CEO is just looks after the money, right? And runs the place. I mean, the CAO has never put a Band-Aid on anybody's finger, I don't think. Right?
Well, the point being is...
The point being...
It's a lot of money for somebody just to sit in an office all day. I wish I could. I wish I didn't have to dangerously climb trees or... go 3 stories up to put a roof on.
No, but apparently we all came from monkeys and apes anyway, so you should be pretty much able to get around in the tree.
I suppose.
You still got that tail, don't you? Just wrap it around the branch there and swing down with the saw, no problem.
Call a lanyard.
Yeah.
That's my tail.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the same thing. We have our CEO of the hospital up here at Bruce County, up at Owen Sound, who pay went from like $150,000 to over $300,000 in one lift. Now, how is that possible? Right? It's not.
Is that all?
Well, it's only a town of, the city of Kingston and surrounding area is bigger than 4 counties here. I mean, this county here has only got, I think the whole county here has only got a total of 60,000 people in it, maybe.
Jesus.
So,
for you.
Well, I know. We're hoping for immigrants to come so that we can high density this. We'd like to see 4.5 million people in the county, none of them white. And we miss it. We don't have any high rises here. And we feel left out.
That's why you're all afraid of heights, I heard.
Not really. But, people are moving up here from the city because they've just had it, right? They just can't deal with it anymore. They're just saying, screw this, we're going to the country. And what as far as I
said that when I was 15 years old.
Really?
I want out of here. I want to move to the country. And then my ex-wife and my newest, latest ex-wife, no, got to stay in the city. Now they're both talking to me, believe it or not, and saying, you might have had a good idea. Yeah, I know I did.
Well, it's never too late. No, I was born in a small town, Renfrew, and then living in Edmonton and Calgary and Vancouver and Kitchener and I don't want nothing to do with the places, right? They're over the top now. They're done. It's just I don't want nothing to do with the city, and I'm running into more and more people like that all the time. They want nothing to do with it anymore.
You see what they want to do here, Ron, is they're talking now about speed limits. And, they got the speed bumps and, everything to get you out of your cars, right?
Yeah.
Drunk driving, cell phones, eating, talking, whatever. Well, now they're saying that they want to lower the speed limits now we're talking Canadian here, which we've changed our system to kilometers. So we've got they want to change 50 kilometers down to 30 kilometers because they feel
in Imperial is about
they
4
feel
miles an hour.
that if you're hit at 30 kilometers, your chances of dying are less than if you're hit at 50 kilometers. Oh, go figure.
Yeah, but see,
So
then
now they're going to bring it down to the point where if you got a bicycle, you can go faster than a car.
Well, no, not really, because I got pulled over.
So we all got to get rid of our cars and get on a bicycle because they're faster.
Yeah,
because the speed limit laws are going to be slower than what you can do in a bicycle.
Yeah, but then you'll still. I got pulled over for speeding on a bicycle when I was like 17 or something. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, you got. What, they radar you?
Yeah,
on a bicycle?
I got pulled over. Man. I go, what are you doing? Funny. And they go, are you speeding? What? I'm on a bicycle, you twit. Well, yeah, but you're on the road and you're speeding. Yeah, but it's not a motor vehicle.
How do they even do that?
Well, they're just... Well,
I won't even ask.
They had me pretty much tagged when I was young, right? Anything that happened within 50 square miles of here...
It was you.
I must have had something to do with it, right? I got ticketed. I told you that story. I came home from work one day and grabbed a shower, and I just got out of the shower and hear the doorbell ring, and I go answer the door, and the cop's standing there, and I go, what? He said, here's your ticket. My what? Your ticket. My ticket? I'm in the shower, jackass. Well, yeah, but somebody squealed their tires. Well, it weren't me. I just got home from work, and we're running the air tracks, and I'm full of mud and dirty and tired, so I'm having a shower. It wasn't me. And I'm a truthful guy. It wasn't me. And he said, well, somebody did it, so it must have been you. Here's your ticket. So I've been kind of beat around here for a year or 30, 40, 50.
So that kind of pissed you off and made you start a radio show?
No, it just it's just how stupid these people really truly are, right? I don't.
Well, not stupid. They're working for the corporation and making their money.
Yeah. Well, it would say us that are stupid because people still say, I see these things on the internet and all the time, support the men in blue, the women and women in blue. Why? They don't support you, right? They didn't take an oath.
Did I tell you when I had a break in? Somebody broke into my trailer. It was on the road.
Yeah.
And my garage door was open, and they took stuff out of the front of the garage. As much as they could carry, right? And the cop asked me on the phone, so we'll take note of the fact of your trailer being broken into. And I said, yeah. I said, well, they did open up the garage door and take a couple items out of the garage as well. As much as they could carry. Oh, in that case, we have to send over a police officer. Why? What's he going to do? Well, that's protocol. If is the garage attached to your house? Yes, it is. Oh, that's protocol. You know what that is? That's insurance companies.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah, I know.
That's
It's
them
all
saying,
corporate.
okay, now you're touching our stuff.
That's right. It's all corporate, right? Otherwise, they don't give a damn, right? And I wish people would get that through their thick skulls. It's all a bad joke, and we got to fix it.
Well, even the cops showed up, shaved head and everything. The cops are getting pretty scary, eh? Full body armor, shaved head.
I know.
And he's looking at me like I'm the perpetrator.
Well,
and I said, look, there's not enough here for an insurance claim. He went, oh, okay. That made him seem happier.
Yeah, now I don't have to fill out any paperwork. There's
well, he takes a report.
Yeah, but in too many cases, somebody will call the cops for something like you described, and the cop will be not too helpful, and then somebody say, well, this is my stuff, it got stolen, and you're supposed to do this, and turn around and arrest the homeowner, right, for getting uppity, right? So it's just...
Well, I had my schnauzer as backup, because this guy looked like he wanted to arrest me for having my stuff stolen.
Yeah. I mean, I got my truck.
And I felt uncomfortable, actually, speaking with him, and I just said, look, I didn't even want you here. What I thought would have happened was maybe they had somebody in their cell that was caught prowling at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they had tools and equipment on them, and then I could claim that potentially is mine, and that's all I wanted. But he actually looked a little disappointed and pissed off that he had to actually come to my door, and I did feel really uncomfortable that he may just arrest me for it.
They call, they're saying, skinheads and white supremacists and that, and then most of the cops I run into got shaved heads, which would make them look like skinheads, and yeah. So
full body armor.
Yeah, and once again, they do it backwards all the time, right? These are the skinheads, right? These are the Gestapo. And they put them out like they're here for your benefit. Nothing can be further from the truth.
No. Don't even feel comfortable about it.
What?
But then they know me too, right? I'm a criminal from way back.
Oh, I read that.
So they probably punch me in their computer and go, oh, he's a known criminal. We made him such. Yeah. Never done anything to harm anybody in my life, other than, once.
Yes, but we have a history of it.
And I paid the price for that. But, I mean, yeah, no, it's all financial. And even they do not realize it.
Who, the cops?
Yeah, I mean, he was looking at me like, are you going to make an insurance claim? I mean, my deductible is $500, and I had like $800 worth of stuff stolen.
Yeah,
so I'm not gonna go there because I know I'm not going to get my stuff back.
Well, you're not going to get your stuff back,
and then my insurance is going to go up.
Yeah. Yeah. So the insurance goes up, and now you got a bigger deductible. So next time they steal $800 worth of stuff, your deductible is $1,000. It's not set up. Everybody's feeding off the people. And, it's just the way it is. So, I just find this whole thing rather humorous. I love that thing. I don't know who wrote that. I don't think it was Mike wrote that thing about Mortimer. But... that pretty well sticks it in your face about the financial system. What you
got to understand about Mike is that's why he called it tomato bubble, and it's actually
I didn't understand why it was called. I only looked at it for a minute last night and went through, and then I did find a link to that book of Robinson from 17-something. There's actually a quote in that book, I think it's in that book, that when I was reading it last night from, could have been Washington maybe, and whoever he was talking to over in America agreed that this thing was already took over. And that was back in the 1700s. So, it's been a long haul, folks. It was set up as a scam, it's continued as a scam, but we're the only ones who have rightful claim to these nations because it's us that are on them. Right? And possession is 9/10 of the law. Therefore, these lands are ours. Everything that was ever built
you talking law or legal?
by us. What?
You talking law or legal?
Talking, well, actually both. In that sense. Because, possession is...
Legally, you don't own nothing.
I don't know shit.
No, I agree.
But the fact is
if you want to be lawful,
well,
then I would agree 9/10 of the law.
Well, possession is, right? Once you possess something, someone has to prove that you don't own it, right?
Well, how come when the cop pulled up here, I felt like I was a perpetrator when my stuff was stolen?
Because they probably ran your name. And
because the other guy had 9/10 of my stuff, so possession is 9/10 of the law. Oh, that I got it now.
I mean, if I go down to somebody's house and say, that's my ladder, I want my ladder back, and the guy said, you're full of crap, and even though I know it's my ladder, right, and I phone the cops and say, that's my ladder, well, he's got it, now you're going to have to prove it's your ladder, right? Otherwise, I could just walk around to anybody's house and say, well, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine. Right? No, possession is 9/10 of the law. Right?
Yeah, he did ask me. He said, "You got serial numbers?"
Yeah, no. Exactly. Because
in my hammer, I got to put a serial number in my hammer.
Yours is yours. Well, we have all the proof on the world that these nations belong to the men and women, because the history states specifically that they had to people the lands in order to make a claim. They claimed the lands when their corporate explorers, the corporate explorers, came to North America and drew some maps and took it back to the investors and said, there, okay, we claim this. Or the explorer would say, I claim this on behalf of King whoever or whatever, and I claim this. But it's an empty claim because you don't have possession of it. So they got the people to come here in order to give them claim. Well, that was all done with coercion and lies and manipulation and fraud. And therefore, they have no legitimate claim. Only the people have the legitimate claim because the people possess it. And the people need to understand that and put in their claim. This nation belongs to us. This government is a complete and total fraud. And it's a corporation, nothing more. And we, the people, are dismantling this so-called government, and we're creating a government of and for not the people. Because when I was looking up the meaning of the word people, people has the same word as meaning, same meaning as the word human. And both of those are under fiction. So the men and the women, not the people, but the men and women have to lay claim to the nations. And the men and women are the ones who have to create the government. This we, the people, well, when you look up people and find out it has the same meaning as human, which is fictional, then you understand that your government is a fiction. And what is a corporation? A fiction. So you have no government, you got a fraud. It was started as a fraud, and it's continued ever since as a fraud. Right? And the Constitution applies to no one but those who signed it, just like they told us here in Canada that they gave us responsible government. They gave it to us, and but the word responsible in responsible government does not have the dictionary definition of the word responsible. And we've been hoodwinked, plain and simple. We have been, they brought the black slaves over on the ships. The white slaves, the Europeans, came here willingly. But there's no difference between the black slave and the white slave. We're both used as slaves to build these nations for the corporations. And that's as simple as it can possibly get. We're the plantation workers. We're registered at birth, and we are property of the corporation. But you can't own a man. So they created the fictional man, the person, the human, the people. They made us agents of that. So none of their laws, you get a speeding ticket, it's the state that was charged. Because they cannot charge a man. It's an impossibility. Let no man judge you, therefore they can't. And they knew that. So they pulled a quickie on you. They registered you. And everything that they register, they control. They give you a bundle of rights. And that's the only way all of their stupid little rules, regulations, statutes can apply. When in fact they really can't apply, because what they did was a fraud. Just like the Fed is a fraud, that means the debt is a fraud, that means the debt does not exist. But Mortimer and the crew have convinced people that it's real, and it ain't real. And therefore you're not obligated to it. The only thing obligated to that debt is the fictional character they created, the fictional corporate character they created. So it's nothing more than a board game. It's nothing more than a Monopoly game. They created it. You get to play it. You get to use the little piece they created you to go around the board. You cannot play a board game without the little piece. And the little piece is the fictional you. When the game's over, everything goes back in the box, and the box is still owned by those who created it. That's all it is. And it's really stupid on our part that we've been suckered this long by it.
No, it's really sad.
It's very sad.
Yep.
But that Mortimer story from Tomatoville explains it perfectly. We're stupid. And we were taught nothing to give us any indication that they were running a fraud on us. Why would they? Why would they tell us?
You know, we go real world right now. My son actually, he just went to a birthday party.
Good for him.
But he is starting to pay attention to what you speak of. And I asked him what he's being taught in school, and he said, "Dad, this is 10 miles away from anything that I'm being taught in school."
Well, exactly,
and that's why. Now that's sad.
Well, that's why you have.
Here we are.
That's why you have this.
And this is all kids all across Canada, United States. They want to destroy our countries. I mean, they're taking us down, right? And but this is the same programming that's going on between Canada, the United States, well, I don't know about Mexico, but they're part of NAFTA, maybe.
It's all the same
But
shit.
he said there's nothing. He said this is why I don't agree with a lot of what you do on your show, is what he says, is because I never hear none of this, and it sounds foreign to me.
Well, that's the point. But you see,
it's sad.
Well, it's
it
damn
goes back
sad.
to me saying sad again. Yeah.
Of course it's sad. Everybody's been lied to. I mean, we weren't taught any of the stuff we talk about in school, right? So, you know, when you first start doing the research and you start running into all these different things, you go, whoa, now that's interesting. One taught that in school, one taught that in school, one taught that in school. It becomes very evident very quickly that the reason you weren't taught any of this stuff in school because the truth is the enemy of the state. So why would the state teach you any truth? That would be stupid on their part. So keep us in the dark, and then they can do what they want. You know, it's going to change. But see, when I see all of these lefties, these so-called lefties, protesting now, and the professors and the teachers encouraging the children to cry on camera and be very afraid. What the teachers and the politicians are really afraid of is what I was talking about last night. Is the rising of McCarthyism again. Okay, that's what they're worried about. They're not worried about Trump so much. They're worried about the McCarthyism returning, and that is running these lefties the hell out of here. Okay, because they're pushing just a global communist program. And they don't want to be outed, and their livelihoods are dependent upon it. Now, if they were real teachers, I mean, most of these teachers are indoctrinated into the eyeballs. They're dumber than a box of rocks to begin with. I mean, they're the ones that are hugging the lie and perpetrating the lie to the students. But they would just as easily turn around and start teaching the truth if they were pushed to teach it, because, again, they don't want to bite the hand that feeds them. And so we just got to, change the hands that's doing the feeding. And they will do as they're told. They will teach what they're told to teach. And that's as simple as that. They don't care what they teach. My teacher taught me that a long time ago in grade 6 or 7. Couldn't give a damn what we teach. Because when I plagiarized that thing out of the encyclopedia and just handed it in and expected a garbage mark, which I got, I could have left it like that and said, okay, I got caught, I get it, not a problem. But I'm of an inquiring mind, I suppose, and so I went and asked the teacher why I got such a lousy mark, expecting fully that she would say that she knew that I didn't write it. But that's not what she said. She said it's wrong. And that blew my mind, because I copied a verbatim out of the New Encyclopedia. Now, what do you mean it's wrong? Well, it's different than what we're teaching in this book here. Well, wait a minute, teacher. We have two things here on the same subject matter which don't jive with each other. So ought not we figure out which one is right, or if either are right, ought not we figure that one out? I don't care, says the teacher. What do you mean you don't care? Well, this is the book we were told to teach you from, and this is what we're teaching you. So you don't give a damn if it's true or not. No. And that's your education system in a nutshell. They will teach whatever they're told to teach because there's a paycheck sitting at the end of the week.
So it all boils down to that's what I keep saying. It's that's why you have the guys wearing military gear that will beat your ass down if you don't go along with what they have been told by their superiors to do to you, which is to make you submit.
Right. But see,
they're gonna make you submit because at the end of the week they get a paycheck. They get to go to Wally Mart.
That's right.
And buy a new TV and
right.
Pay their bills.
But see, the problem is that we need to go get a hold of things again. Now, if we had a hold of things and these nations actually belong to the men and the women and children, and not these fictional governments. If our nations actually were controlled by, administered by, and looked out for by the actual men and women who call it home, then the police all of a sudden will change instantly. They don't need that flak jacket. They don't need all this gear. Because there's nothing the police have to fear from the men and women, and there should be nothing the men and women should have to fear from the police. So now you get back to reality. This whole thing, I mean, you look at a cop in a car, I don't even know how to get in these things. I mean, it's like they're sandwiched in there. There's so much gear, it's retarded. And, I'm sure there's lots of police that are scratching their head every day. I mean, if you look at the suicide rate of police and military people, it's getting higher by the day. Why is that? Well, a lot of it, I think, would to do with their conscience. Gets the better of them. They can't take it no more, right? I'm sure there's all kinds of people in the military and the police just biting at the bit. They would like to spill their guts, but they can't do it.
Because of a paycheck.
And the oath. They took an oath, right? And I'm sure they get hammered all the time by that. What are you talking about? You took an oath, right? And you can't break your oath. So I'm sure a lot of them, instead of breaking their oath, they just say, hasta la vista, I'm out of here. And that's unfortunate. And but that's just the way it is. So, I'm still happy. I'm still happy.
Well, there is some. There's that standoff of that pipeline. There was a couple of cops, from what I read.
I heard.
I know I've mentioned this before, and I have a bad habit of repeating myself.
Also, my wife.
But there was a couple of cops that turned in their badges and said, "I didn't sign up for this."
Well, when I was
torturing peaceful protesters, no, that's not what I do. It's not what I signed up for. I quit.
Well, the young guy in the reserve.
So there is a couple of good men out there with balls.
Well, we just need to be more of them. But when I went up to the reserve to get the smokes, the young guy up there brought that up about the Dakota pipeline, and I'm pretty sure what he told me, it was his recollection, anyways. That there was something like 27, either police or state police or whatever, that just walked away. Said enough. I'm not doing it. So I don't know if the number was 2, 3, 27, 23. I have no idea what the number was. But the fact is, at least some of them, their conscience got to them, and they knew that what they were doing was absolutely wrong. And
those are real men we need to support. Like, we got to stand up. I mean, whether it's $5 or $10 each. I mean, if they need help, keeping their what they got going sustained, that's where you got to jump in, and then the rest will see that we all support. Your tax dollars, instead of going to support the system, you turn it around and you support the men that are protecting our freedoms for real.
I love that thing out at the Bundy. It was the Bundys again, when they had the feds out there and all those militiamen come from all over the country, and they had a standoff, and the feds backed down. That's really, to me, it was amazing. And that's the whole point. Is that it's the moral fiber. The moral has to rise above the amoral. And when they got stood up like that, the guys from the Fed knew what they were doing was absolutely wrong. They knew that these men that were standing, that came from all over the nation to stand ground, they knew that those guys were up on their moral high horses, and they knew those guys were absolutely correct.
They got to do their job.
That just knocked the wind out of them. They had to stand down. They had no choice in the matter. And that's how we change the nations. We stand up. It's that simple. Stand up. Nobody shot anybody there, but they got the result they were looking for. Stand them down. Somebody's going to stand down. Somebody's going to blink first, and it ain't us. And if people just take that attitude, we ain't blinking. We're getting up on our
I think what I'm trying to say, though, is
we ain't dismounting until this is fixed. They will stand down. And they will join the proper side. I don't care how amoral a man thinks he may be. Now, there are amoral people out there, and those are the ones that are running the show. But most of the people still have some moral fortitude in them, and we just got to coax it out. And that's
what I'm trying to say, though. The ones that do that are getting a government paycheck and say, you know what, I don't care about the government paycheck anymore. This is wrong. You know, we got to start paying attention to them and support them as much as we can. Yeah,
and they got to come forward, right? In other words, they have to lose. Well, I mean,
I think coming forward is difficult. But,
all of these people.
Their first step is they're backing up and saying, you know what, I didn't sign up for this. I quit. That's a brave thing to do when you've got a $100,000 a year paycheck.
Well, it's the same thing.
You know, if you submit and destroy the commoners' lives the way you're told to,
it's the same thing.
And you say, I'd rather be with the commoners than destroy them, and lose my nice home and my
it's just stuff,
really
people.
Nice paycheck.
It's just stuff. And the stuff, when you get right down to brass tacks, means nothing. But it's the same. It's not just the police, Chris. It's the same. The professors in the university, the talking heads on the TV, the newspaper writers, all the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, there's all kinds of them that want to write the truth or tell people the truth. But they know that if they do, they will be ostracized from what it is they think they enjoy doing, whatever profession that might be. But I think as we go on here, the pressure is going to come to these people, and they'll start to talk amongst themselves. And I'm sure there's lots of them talking amongst themselves in all the professions now, going, how do we get out of this, right? How do we fix this? So I'm sure there's all kinds of talk going on in there. It'll be quiet, and it'll be, under the radar kind of thing. But I'm sure there's lots of people in lots of professions sitting down having a beer or something going, this really sucks. What are we going to do? Well, not much we can do, because then they'll throw us out and we'll be ostracized and we'll never get another job in whatever profession we're in. But there will come a time when that doesn't matter anymore. And the real men and real women will step forward. And
I think that time is coming soon, very soon.
It is coming soon, and as silly as Trump may seem, I do believe he's a catalyst here to help people move that way, whether it's his intention or not. Just the fact that he's there and the liberals are out is, I think, a brilliant thing if we can act upon it. Anyways, I think we're just out of time, so I don't want to forget this. Hal's on deck at 3 o'clock. One of these days, we're going to do a show together. I don't know what day or when or how, but I look so forward to doing a show with Hal. I've listened to his programs. The man is pretty brilliant. So 3 o'clock, Hal's on deck, so tune in. And a prayer out to Kathy's husband, Jamie. Got worked out the other day. Let's get that boy better.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people, that's in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick for water, sick for meth. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of death. Fuck them back, it's only for they want. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes gun, trees, lie to your face.